Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of Starcraft 2. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We are actually going to be doing some trading today. I figured I'd take you guys along for the ride and see if maybe you could pick up a thing or two about what I do during my training regimen that may actually help you get better at the game yourself. Anyways, let's get right into it. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is make sure that you have a build order. Now, you gotta have to do your own little research and make sure that it's not like a non-viable build order or that it's like completely outdated. And you know, there's been a couple patches lately that have shooken things up a little bit, so just make sure that the build you're following is actually useful for you know, the current patch. But once you've got a build order, what you want to do is actually open up a spreadsheet, which is kind of what I do, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here in a minute. But you're gonna take note of the build order, you're gonna take note of the timings, and you're gonna take note of the supply counts, you know, at certain benchmarks throughout the build order. And then what you're going to want to do is actually take a couple notes about key points during the build order, you know, specifically around scout timings, what timings you're supposed to attack on, certain timings for tech buildings or things like that. You know, these are really important benchmarks for you to keep track of when you're doing these kind of training sessions. And what you want to do is every time you play a game, you're actually going to go back and you're going to record those benchmarks through your own gameplay so that you can see how tight your timings are and where you need to improve. Now, I'm going to show you a build that I've been working on for PvZ. This is a build that Pig has kind of talked about in his Bronze to GM series. It's something I plan on whipping out on the ladder myself at some point, but I do need to kind of tighten up the timing a little bit. It's been a little bit messy, and I haven't had the chance to really tighten it up yet, so we're going to see if we can do that today. Alright, so if you look at my spreadsheet here, you'll kind of see what I'm talking about. So I have a full build order here from Pig. We have all the supply counts, and then we have a couple critical timings that we need to worry about throughout the build as well. So at 4:45, actually, let me back up a little bit here. The build is a DT Archon drop in PvZ, and this is what we're going to be practicing today. So we're going to, at first, just see if we can hit all of these supply timings. It might take us a couple tries first, and then we are going to benchmark our own replays against this build order to see how well we're doing. So I'm actually going to create a couple categories of things up here that we want to look for. So we want to see, like, looks like we're going to be doing a gateway scout. We're going to be doing some Nexus Chronos in the beginning, which is not it's completely to be expected. Stalker, deny scouting. Okay. Now, just be aware that my Excel skills are not exactly top tier. So there's probably some numbers guys out there that are probably gonna be a little upset about how I do this, but that's okay. So you can see I've done this in a couple of other builds as well, so I'm going to essentially just copy some of this over because I have a little bit of a template that I've built for myself. Okay, so this is pretty fairly in-depth. I don't usually go quite this intense with it, but I decided to for this one because I really want to tighten up my timing. So you can see I've got a whole bunch of stuff in here that I'm looking for. You know, anything from worker counts to certain tech timings, to when my DTs actually warp in before, you know, what the timing is of when they actually pressure my opponent. Because it's one thing to have your DTs warp in on time, but it's another thing to make sure that you're actually pressuring with them as soon as possible as well. You know, other timings in here, like my third Nexus timing, you know, when I'm going for my big final attack, you know, what units I have in the attack, is my warp prism even alive? You know, these things are all things that I'm trying to track and understand so I can better understand where my weak points are and things that I can improve on and make sure my timings are as crisp as possible. Okay, so I just have a custom lobby here. We're just going to pick any map. I picked my favorite one, which happens to be King's Cove. We're going to go ahead and add a AI. Now we're practicing against Zerg. So for this first one, just to make sure that they don't really kind of get in my way too much, I think I'm just going to put it on harder, just for now, until I you know, get a little bit more comfortable with the build. I'm also going to have, now I have the luxury of having a second monitor next to me, so I'm actually going to have the build order up to my left over here, so I can reference the build as I'm playing, and just makes things a little bit easier. Okay, now that we're in the game, we're going to follow the build to the best of our ability.
That'll cost more minerals.
I have the build order up next to me on the other screen, so I'm just going to peek over there every once in a
Need more
while,
minerals for that.
make sure I'm following correctly. Now, when you're doing practice like this, it's absolutely okay to pause the game and make sure you're doing the right build order.
don't have enough
It's better for you to
minerals.
pause the game and do the build correctly than it
Need
is to
more
try to
minerals for that.
wing it over and over again just because you don't remember the build. So we're going to be getting ready for our first gateway here.
Construct additional pylons. That'll cost more minerals than we
Okay,
have.
we're going to go scout with this probe.
We don't have
We're going to
enough
get ready
minerals.
for another gas,
cost more
or our first
minerals
gas
than we have.
rather.
Need more minerals.
Try to
than
do a
we
little
have.
bit of worker micro here. Oops. There we go. Send this probe over. 19th probe is going to go down to our natural to make our nexus. Now, the beginning of this build is pretty standard. If you're familiar with any sort of one gate expand, I mean, this isn't going to be anything new for you.
We don't have enough.
Yeah, AI doing weird AI things over there. All right, so now we're going to make sure we're following our build order. We got Nexus first, pause probes. We're going to get our cyber
That'll
core
cost
down,
more minerals
leave a
than
little
we
bit of
have.
a gap there so we have somewhere to put our zealots.
Need
if
more
needed.
minerals for that.
Okay. Next gas is down. We're also going to be making another pylon up here. This one we're going to
That'll
try to
cost
like
more.
hide a little bit.
Enemy is gunning for our probes.
Alright. A couple Zerglings are out. We're just going to see if we can get out of there, but I don't think so. Pretty sure that probe is going to die. Yep. Not a big deal. We're more interested in following the build order than we are of doing little things like that. So we've got... So I'm going to pause
Hold
here for a
position.
second, make sure I'm doing everything correctly. So as soon as the gateway finishes, looks like we're going to be starting an Adept and Warp Gate, and we're also going to Chrono Boost the Adept. And then shortly after, we're going to be going for Twilight Council and Stalker. So we're going
Operation
to focus on
commencing.
doing that. There you go. We were saturated on our main, so now we're going to move the probes down. We have just enough money to drop a
Yeah,
Twilight
what's that
Council,
in?
so we're going to go ahead and do that. Now we're going to make a
Glory to
Stalker,
the Daylon.
We don't have enough
and we're going to go
minerals.
scout with our Adept.
That'll cost more minerals. Need more
We're going
minerals
to Chrono
for that.
Boost just our low ground Nexus, not the main Nexus. Queue up a few probes, and then we're going to get ready to drop our Robo Bay, or not a Robo Bay, just a Robo
don't have enough
in our
minerals.
wall here to complete the wall. There you go. Get that hotkeyed.
That'll cost
Make sure we
more
keep going
minerals.
on probes.
Hold
I'm going to
position.
stop and look again here. Let's say, okay, so the next thing that we need is going to be Dark Shrine at 36 supply, and then 3 gateways
Operation
also.
commencing. We don't have enough minerals.
Combat.
So we're just going to shade in this Adept.
Let your will be.
There is no natural here. So if this were a player, I would be very concerned. But because this is AI on only harder difficulty, I don't think I'm going to worry about it that much. So now the next thing in our build order is going to be Dark Shrine and Gateways. I'm going to pause probes here for a minute. Excuse me. And we're gonna pause probes so that we can get
Need
our
more
warp
minerals
prism
for
out
that.
as soon as possible. Looks like we got roaches. Send the warp prism out. We're gonna warp chrono it.
Give us your.
Oops, I did not mean to finish that. That was a big mistake.
Research complete.
We are.
I'll try to keep it alive, but I doubt it. It's fine. It's not that a big deal.
Hold
Okay,
position.
so now I need to look at this again. So I need another pylon and 2 more. My 3rd and 4th gas
Operation
should be
commencing.
pretty easy.
We don't have enough minerals.
There we go. Keep up on probes. Get our warp prism queued up. Okay, now we need 2 more pylons over here for production space. And then we need to get ready to grab our 3rd base. I'm gonna send out a probe. Alright, here we go. Everything's nice and smooth. DTs are warping in. Need a little bit more gas though. I think that was a little bit of a mistake on my part by not
More Vespine.
putting in probes on gas right away. We're gonna wait for... Alright. Now we're gonna go in and drop him in. We're also gonna drop our Nexus behind this. We're gonna target fire the Nexus.
Can't warp that in.
Kill that Zergling. Get a pylon down. Sure to get 2
Can't
pylons
warp that
down.
in.
I need
We
something
don't
in the
have
wall
enough
over here. Okay, well this is looking pretty good on my part. We're just gonna keep the warp prism nearby. Now we need to get our... We're gonna pause again.
Hold position.
Now I need my 3 sentries, an observer, and Roboforge charge.
Operation commencing.
Okay. So our observer. I mean, this looks like it's just going to be flat out GG at this point, but that's okay. This is why we start out with harder, so that it's not quite so difficult. We're also going to start chronoing some probes in our tech. There we go. We're going to get our 3 sentries, a zealot. We're also going to get a battery. Oh, that's a terrible position for a battery. We're not going to put it there. That's just dumb. Alright, we're going to pause one more time, see where we're at. We need to start +1 weapons and an immortal.
Operation commencing.
We got an immortal. Oh, oops. I dropped a second Twilight Council. Oopsies. See, this is why we practice. I mean, these DTs are just... They're going to win us the game here. Which is kind of funny. Alright, so we don't want to warp in any more units unless we have to. Next up on our build order is going to be 4 more gateways. We're going to go ahead and get those.
Can't warp that in.
There we go. And now that we've got our gateways, we're going to start our 5th and 6th gas. And we're going to get our Twilight Council. We're going to transfer probes here pretty soon. We're going to start our... we're not going to start the 4th base just yet. I mean, I think this is literally his last base, so... in the light of trying to finish up the build order, I'm not just going to straight up kill him.
We're done with the research.
Okay. Get our 4th base.
Can't warp that
Another
in.
pylon. Start +1. Get our 3 Templar as soon as this is done. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's literally all he's got left. That's actually really funny. Alright.
More pylons.
Almost done. There it is. Oh, I'm supply blocked.
Can't warp that in.
Another thing you got to be careful with is your supply blocks.
Can't warp that in.
Okay. 3 Templar. Storm. Get some Zealots.
Seems more tired.
Alright, so now we're going to take... It's a little early, but it's okay. We're going to take some of our workers out of our main. We're going to take some workers from our 3rd, throw them to our 4th. And then we're going to get a couple of Archons here. And now that we're really popping off, we're going to add in some more gateways.
Can't warp that in. Need more minerals for that.
Get our 7th and 8th gas, and then I think we can just go ahead and... Actually, I'm going to wait just a little bit. I know it's kind of silly, but considering the game is literally already over. But I still want to practice the macro. That's what's more important than anything else. We got plenty of workers now. Actually, probably more than what we need. We've got plenty of infrastructure, and we're going to get another forge. So we can keep going on our upgrades.
Nothing left in that mineral cluster.
Actually, I'll put you up back up there. You don't necessarily need to be down here right now. Get some more zealots.
That'll cost more minerals.
Start getting more immortals as well. We're just going to macro until we're maxed out. Get a couple more pylons so we can max out our supply. keep going on our upgrades.
Construct additional pylons.
Need some of these pylons to finish up.
I return to
There we go.
We don't have enough.
Assault data plot. I like for iron.
Alright, I think we can
That'll
finish up
cost
with...
more minerals than we
Aw,
have.
he's stuck.
Need more minerals.
We can finish up with 2 last
Seek enlightenment.
immortals. I supply blocked myself because of that one immortal in my main base.
My charm.
Alright, so now we're completely maxed out. We got upgrades in the bank. Storm is done. I mean, this army is an absolute monster at 10
We've
minutes.
completely mined out a mineral field.
And GG. Okay, so now we're going to go back into the replay and we're going to start capturing some of these benchmarks that we had here. So we're going to go ahead and start over. This is where it does get a little bit tedious. But that's okay. So now we're just going to watch our timings. So the first thing that we're looking for is our Twilight Council timing. Alright, so right there, 226 is when it goes down. So 226, worker count at Twilight Council going down, we are at 22 workers. Okay. And we're going to keep going. This time we're going to look for our robo timing, which is going to be where in the wall. There it is, 256. Worker count at robo, we've got 27 workers. Okay, we're going to keep going. Now, our next timing we're looking for is our Dark Shrine timing. When do we actually throw the Dark Shrine down? Right there, 322. And we are at 30 workers. Okay, so now we're going to take the timing of when our 4th gateway goes down. And almost, there it is, 336. All gateways are down. Worker count at 4 gateways is at 32. Now we need to see when we actually start warping in our DTs. Now, we're not going to take the time of when I warped in the first DT. We are going to take the time of when I warp in the 4th DT. That's when the pressure can't start until the 4th one comes in. I actually missed it just by a couple seconds there. There it is, 449. So now, what time do we actually pressure with the DTs? So this one isn't going to be when they unload. It's going to be when they first strike something. There it is, 508. So at 508 is when we start actually doing damage to our opponent. It doesn't matter that the DTs are there. We want to know how fast they are actually in their base doing damage. So behind this, now we're going to be looking at our 3rd base timing, which should be somewhat soon here. There it is, 514, which is a nice respectable timing. And worker count is at 44, which is also pretty respectable. Now, when do we get our 3 sentries? Is our next timing that we're curious about. We're a little short on gas, so hopefully they'll be coming in soon. We should have 3 sentries and a zealot coming in. Now, I did waste 1 warp in, getting another stalker in my main wall because I didn't have anything watching it. There they are. So 605 is our sentry timing. Which seemed like it feels like that could be a lot faster. Yeah, so now this was also a mistake too, dropping a second Twilight Council. This was supposed to be a forge. This was just a simple misclick on my part. But it did have it would have a significant impact on the game if this were a real game. So we're going to count the timing of it, even though it's technically incorrect, because that's when it would have went down if I dropped a forge. All right, 543. So I might swap those timings around, although I think the sentries are supposed to come first. So I think I did that actually in reverse order. My +1 attack is obviously going to be super late because I didn't drop a forge. I dropped a second Twilight Council. There it is. I just saw it. Just noticed the forge going down. So there we go. There's our 8 gateways. That's our next timing. 643. Oops. Put that in the wrong box here. And we're still waiting on our +1 timing, because of course we are.
I return to serve.
Nothing left in that cluster.
Still waiting on it. Still waiting on it.
We're done with the research.
Ah, come on. There we go. 724, we'll say. That was super, super late. So we got a Templar archive. Oh, we had our Templar archives down before we even got started +1. That's just bad. There it is, 657. Now for our final attack, we're just gonna see what was what my unit composition was and what time I actually pushed with it. So we're just gonna kind of speed through to the end here. I mean, this army's looking pretty strong at this time in the game, and we have 12 gateways, which is more than enough. Okay, so I'm just gonna count it as like when they go up the ramp. 10-16, we'll say. This is a really strong attack. If this hit a real player, this would have significantly hurt. So our supply was 198. Our worker count was 79, which is actually a little bit high, I think. Let me change this here. Come on, Excel. There we go. All right, so we had 24 zealots. Sentries, we had 3. We had 4 immortals, which is actually kind of low. I should have had more immortals, more than... trade some of that zealot supply for immortals for sure. But I also, if this were a real game too, I could have used those zealots for harass. So I think this would have worked out anyways. We had 6 Archons. We have 5 Templar. And our Warp Prism was indeed alive. Now you can see our first attempt is officially logged. I've logged all the timings. I know there's definitely some things that I did wrong. I think my timing attack could be faster. I think I could have had a better unit comp. Also, I mean, but then again, could have used those zealots for run bys. I also think my RoboForge charge timing was wrong, because I never dropped the forge, which was a huge mistake. My +1 was super late. My 4th DT was also late because I was short on gas because I didn't move workers into gas fast enough. So this, you know, while this is kind of on the extreme end, it does really help you point out a lot of the mistakes that you make in your play. So as you can see, I already have an attempt 2 and 3 lined up here, so I think we're going to go ahead and do that. And one other thing I wanted to cover really quickly as well, when I do these training sessions, I do want to maximize the amount of value that I'm getting out of them. So what I will typically do is in the AI section here, once I get a little bit more comfortable with the build, I'll obviously turn it up to elite, and I'll just leave it on any build. So, I mean, AI, they really do some freaking wonky builds, so don't read too much into what they're doing, focus more on what you're doing. But if you leave it on any build, it at least forces you to still at least understand what the AI is trying to do, because they can definitely do some weird wonky cheeses. And if you're just sitting there macroing, completely ignoring them on elite, they can still kill you if you're completely blindsided by it. So just leave it on that setting. That's typically what I do. And I'll see you guys at the end. We'll show you the results. All right, guys. Glad you made it on the other side. This was my final attempt at my build order. I think I've got this tightened up actually significantly well in only 3 attempts, which I'm very excited about. So I'm going to let this play in the background while we kind of talk about some things here. Somewhere on the screen around me is going to be a list of all the timings that I had for this. And as you can see, I was able to tighten up a lot of timings with just some practice, especially the actual DT warp-in timing. I was able to shave off, what is this, like 8 seconds, which doesn't seem like a lot, but when you're talking about a timing that's hitting 8 seconds faster, it could mean a significant difference in the gameplay. And you can also see that the pressure timing was also reduced by 12 seconds. That is huge. That's an extra 12 seconds of damage that I could be doing with those DTs. And we all know how strong DTs are, and if he doesn't have any detection, I mean, that's 12 more seconds of damage that he's going to have to deal with. So that's absolutely critical that we got that. We were also able to tighten up our 3rd Nexus timing. I was able to create workers more efficiently and overall tech up to what I was supposed to at a reasonable rate, which was actually significantly faster than my first attempt. And the funny thing is, the first attempt had me pausing every once in a while as well to make sure that, you know, I was actually doing the build correctly. You know, I'd sit there and pause and be like, oh, what's next? Oh, okay, sure. And go ahead and drop them, and then, you know, back to business as usual. But here, this is no pausing. This is just purely off of memory and just repetition in 3 attempts. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I think that's pretty significant. You know, and your long-term goal should be to do these builds without pausing the game, just period. If you're pausing the game all the time, if you have to pause the game to do the build right, then you need to kind of stray away from pausing the game. You know, it's possible to get too used to pausing the game, and then you're like, when you finally don't pause the game, you're panicking, you don't know what's going on. So my recommendation, pause as much as you want for maybe the first attempt, and then start dialing it back even on the second attempt, or even trying not to pause at all. And then from the third attempt on, don't pause the game. Just let it go, real time, figure it out. And if you mess up the build order, like real bad, just stop. It's okay. Just quit out of the match, reboot, you know, relook at your notes, figure out what you need to do differently, and try it again. And keep going until you get it correctly. I'm going to speed this up here just a little bit. We're actually coming up on the DT warp-in here pretty soon. We're just dropping the DT shrine right now. We're about to get our 4 gateways. Accidentally trapped my probe in the corner there. That was a bit of a mistake.
We're done with
But other than that, this is looking really, really clean so far. Warp prism is out, sending it across the map. I'm just about to switch it into warp-in mode. There we go. 4 DTs warping in at 441, which is a really, really crisp timing. And you'll notice too that there's no delay from picking up the DTs and dropping them in the main. That way I can hit as absolutely fast as possible. 456 was the first strike, and now we're going straight for the hatchery. We're also dropping our 3rd base behind this, just as we should, along with a pylon. And we're getting set up for our 3 sentry warp-in. Now, the AI, this is actually one of the few attempts where the AI doesn't just outright die. You know, sometimes they'll just do a build that just happens to work out for them. You know, they don't really know what they're doing, but it happened to work out enough for him that I wasn't able to just completely outright kill him. Although, to be fair, I didn't really micro my DTs after clicking the hatchery. I'm sure if I did, I could have done significantly more damage, but I was way more focused on making sure that my macro was nice and tight. We've got our 8 gateways now. Forge and second robo is up. We're about to start +1 right on time. Everything's looking real good in the tech department. I think he gets a overseer here pretty soon and starts pushing my DTs back. We're getting our Templar archives, saturating our 3rd base. We're about to start robo production, or not robo, yeah, robo production pretty soon. Start getting some immortals. Our Templar archives is almost done, so we'll be starting storm soon as well. I mean, this game is looking really, really sick.
Research complete.
I mean, I think I could probably keep improving it even more, but the point is, if you guys are going to be doing this, you know, I promise you, you are going to find the weaknesses in your build orders and you will improve them. Now, it's a whole nother story to be able to do these in a live game, because like this is an AI game. The pressure is relatively low, right? But to get there, you need to first understand the build order. If you don't even have a grasp on what you're trying to do with the build order, you're not going to be able to do it under pressure. It's going to completely crumble, and you're just going to end up winging the whole game, which is exactly what you're not supposed to do. You can even see that I had some time to do some Archon drops here, which is really nice, killing a bunch of drones there. About to get my 4th base saturated. Now at this point, I am just massing up a massive army to go kill my opponent. Use the spreadsheet, use the data, find out where you're struggling, and fix it. See, we're about to go for our final push here to end the game. We are just about maxed out. We will be maxed out after this warp-in, and we're going to go for the final push, and it's going to be GG. First swing at 10-10. If I hit a real player with this, I bet you this build would crush most Masters players, so I'm being honest with you. So I think this was very well done. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this content. You get to see a little bit of what I do when I start my training regiments. I don't expect everyone to go this heavy, but if you are serious about improving your build orders and your timings, this is certainly a great way to do it. And the nice thing is too, if you kind of take a break from StarCraft for a while and you're kind of like, oh wait, I kind of forgot this build order, or you kind of get loosey-goosey with it, right? You can always go back to your spreadsheet and you can see exactly what you did to perform the build. And if you wanted to take a step further, you can save those replays with it, so you even have a replay and spreadsheet data to go with it, and you can tighten those timings right back up again, no problem, after a couple of customs. Alright guys, well I think that's going to be it for this episode. Trying something new here. Don't know if this is necessarily going to gain a whole lot of traction, but I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys learned something from it. And if you want to see more StarCraft 2 content in general, subscribe so you don't miss out. Leave a comment and like down below, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.